Hello and welcome to another Coffee Talk session. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can use S2K rental to manage and optimize your rental assets. So the rental billing application is available right directly from the standard S2K Enterprise menu here, and it's one of the modules available in S2K Enterprise. So what I want to start out with is some of the file maintenance capabilities here, specifically in and around rental assets. And we'll focus here on the items I have in my location 50. So what you'll notice is, just for demo purposes, we put a -R at the end of the item numbers so that we recognize these are the items to be rented. So it's a good opportunity for me to point out that these item numbers have to exist in S2K item master and item balance file before they can be rented. So to drill down on that, though, we'll choose one of these items and I want to drill in. Specifically to show you that there are some specific field data element options that you have in and around rental items. So we have this run meter option. Okay, so and you'll see that as I walk through the presentation, but we can record what the meter reading was upon return, so we know if there's any additional charges associated with that rental for the customer. The application is completely integrated with the service module as well. So you can schedule after how many rentals or after how many days a specific asset needs to be serviced. And we differentiate that from a cleanup. So a cleanup doesn't necessarily mean it has to go through a service call. It just means maybe it's normal for the asset to come back dirty, needs to literally be cleaned up. But there would be a delay before you can rent the asset back out again. So we want to make sure that the asset is cleaned up before it gets rented again. So that's really the purpose of that cleanup procedure there. And then, of course, the things you would expect, there's the opportunity here to enter in a damage waiver percentage and also some deposits. So do we want to capture a reservation, a security deposit on this asset? So those can all be set up here. You can drill in, identify the particular equipment numbers as well associated with this item. Okay, so once you have that set up, we can really launch into creating a rental contract. But I do want to show you some of the statuses that are available for an asset. So it could be in service, like I just talked about, but maybe there's a reservation on the asset. You're going to see that here in a minute. One of the nice features of the application here too is you can pause a rental. So if for some reason it was damaged for whatever reason, you as a company can go and replace your customer's unit. They could bring it back, whatever, but there's going to be a replacement option here, so you can kind of stop the rental and then restart it again. Similarly, if it broke, so if the asset was out in the field and it broke, it can be brought back in, serviced, or you could dispatch a service technician to go repair it where need be, and then restart the rental. So there's a number of rental statuses here. I just wanted to make sure that you saw. So now let's dive in. So I'll go from the daily transaction processing menu and we'll process a rental. So I'm going to walk through how to create the rental, and then after that we're going to go ahead and return the rental, and I'll walk you through that whole process. So we'll dive in. What you'll note here to start off is there's a very nice calendar. So you click on your from and to dates. So when does the individual want this? So a start date, end date, and times, of course. So you'll select those here from this rental screen. We'll move from there on to, well, what items does this person want to rent from you? There's categories here. So you've got your office equipment in my example, okay? And then under that category, we've got some subcategories, of course: printers and faxes, shredders, copiers. But on the right-hand side, you'll see the individual assets and how many of those we have available. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and select one of the very first printer. Okay, so once we have that selected, what you'll notice here is we're going to go into a details screen. The detail screen is going to be very similar to what we see in the other order entry applications, whether it's purchase order entry, customer order entry, or manufacturing order entry. They all carry a detail screen. So we'll see that here. What's a little different is you'll notice up top there's a pending under the rental number. So we know now that this item has been reserved. Okay, so the asset's been reserved, but we've not selected a specific equipment number. So I'm going to double click on the line item, drill into it, and look here to see, well, which individual equipment numbers are available. You'll note a couple of these are highlighted in red, so they're already out on a rental contract, so those are obviously not available. But there's enough others that I can select. So I'm going to go through here and select one. Okay, so we'll select one of these equipment ID numbers. That will be brought back here into the details of the order. Okay, and then we can continue on. So now that we have our asset and our equipment number, we can go to the summary screen. So one of the other interesting things about the rental application here that you probably noticed is that we've not yet selected a customer. So this could be a retail customer, could be a walk-in customer, could be a wholesale customer, depending on how you use S2K. But once we go through the process of starting the rental, now it's going to ask me for a customer. I just went ahead and keyed in my infamous Acme Inc. customer. So we're going to use Acme Inc. as our customer in this rental. Now, again, because the application is fully integrated, Acme Inc., when we set up the customer master, required a purchase order number on orders. So we're going to get that same message here. We're going to have to go to the equipment contract rental header screen and enter in a PO number. So I just went over to the screen. We're entering a PO number. Okay, so now once we have the PO number entered, I can really complete the starting of the rental contract. So we'll do that with the complete start option. Okay, and now we've got the rental asset out, being rented. There is a dashboard here as well, kind of like what you see under customer order detail sales or on the service billing side. What are the open and closed service calls? So here what you're going to see on the rental side is what rental contracts are still open. So what's really interesting here, you'll see a couple of them highlighted in red. They're past due. So those are important ones just to keep an eye on. Hopefully someone followed up and is trying to get those assets back. What I'm going to do for our purposes, because I had created a contract a day or so ago, I'm going to go ahead and return that contract, so we'll get some good value. We'll get some pricing here on the rental agreement. So I selected the rental contract, drilled into the details, and I'm going to click the button that says returned. Now, as I showed you in the setup, because this item is carrying a meter reading, the system is going to force me to enter in that meter reading in value. Okay, I'm going to enter in 325 because I know that there were 50 free units available on the meter. I know now that there was a difference of 25 units, and that's going to carry a $25 charge. So we can alert the customer, say, hey, in addition to your normal rental fee, there's going to be an additional fee of $25 here. Okay. So we see all that information. If I had collected a security deposit, that would be visible here. If I need to make a change to that, I can. Otherwise, I continue on. And this, again, will bring me back to the same summary screen we saw earlier. Okay. But I do want to pause here to show you another nice feature. So rather than complete the contract, I just want to show you now that there is the ability to enter in a note. So if the product was returned and clean, great, you enter that. Maybe there was some damage, maybe it was dirty, whatever. You can enter in some notes here, and like the notes aspect of S2K, we are going to show here user ID, date, and timestamp. Okay, so I like to show that. I think that's a very powerful feature, and it's a great way of tracking. You know, if there were any issues with the asset upon return, someone would have noted that here. Okay, now that we're all done, okay, we can complete this rental. These charges would be then passed over and invoiced to the customer. You'll note here that there is tax, so where necessary, we can calculate the taxes, whether that's from the S2K tax tables or from one of the integrations we have with Avalara or Vertex. But the idea is here, this is done, we now go ahead and bill the customer. For those of you who may need credit card processing, this is integrated with our credit card processing. If you're using our retail POS capabilities, that's all integrated here as well. This happens to be a kind of a standard customer with net 30 terms, so I'm just going to go ahead and bill them accordingly. Now, that was the walkthrough of how to create a rental, okay, and how to return it, but I want to show you some of the powerful inquiries here, because to me, this is really where we can define some of the value here, the rental billing application. So it's from here that I can drill right into a rental contract. So I can see, you know, when it was returned, what the amount was, and I can see directly here, oh, there were some meter charges on this. right? So remembering back, there were $25 in meter charges, so I would have visibility to see that here. Again, just a powerful feature. One of the other inquiries I really like, though, that's available here is this rental equipment history inquiry. So I can find a particular asset along with the serial number, and I can drill in and I can see, okay, well, who rented this in the past? When did they return it? What did we charge them? So there'll be some great visibility here to see when were we able to rent this. So I can see this asset was pretty active. There was some rentals against it. But if I'm seeing maybe it was very active for a period of time and now not so active, maybe it's time to service it. Maybe it's time to sell the asset. Maybe it's been fully depreciated. Maybe we just retire the asset. So you have a whole bunch of options here. One of the other, though, really powerful inquiries I want to make sure that you see is this equipment profitability inquiry. So what I'm going to be able to see from here is, what is my income? So what has my rental income been? What are expenses I've incurred against this income? So if there were service calls, again, back to the integration with the S2K service module, any of those fees would be shown here. Okay, so I could see what my total net amount was, and I can compare that to my costs, and I can here have a very clear vision of what my return on investment with this asset has been. So, and I can look at that on a prior year-to-date, month-to-date, year-to-date value. So there's just some great inquiries available here. And again, this is a nice way of seeing, well, gee, maybe over time I've done really well with the asset, and we can retire it. Maybe it hasn't been used in a period of time, and again, maybe it's time to sell it. Maybe we put it on our S2K e-commerce to try and sell it over the web. There's a whole bunch of options here, but the idea is you're going to have some really powerful visibility to see how profitable an asset has been for you. Continuing on, though, one of the other really nice inquiries here to see, hey, for an asset, does it need to be serviced? So what's the maintenance interval? How many days has it been since this asset was maintained? What was the last date of maintenance? And I can see here, I've got the one highlighted where I can see that this specific asset is currently being serviced. It has a service call associated with it, and then I can actually drill in to the service inquiry, and it's from here that I can see that the problem code or the problem description for this in the service module is that it's an asset needing to be maintained for rental. So the text can really have visibility to see that this asset is being brought in for rental maintenance. With that, I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed today's coffee talk.